Welcome and thank you for joining us today for our Workday chats. I'm Shane McCarthy. I'll be facilitating today's conversation on the topic of AI in workforce and payroll. I couldn't think of a better group to bring together to talk AI, workforce management, and pay than the three people I'm joined by today. Cristina Goldt, our General Manager for Workforce and Pay, Jensen, our Head of Global Product Vision, and Pham, our VP of AI and Machine Learning. Cristina, Neil, and Kathy, welcome, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
For having us.
Of course. To those tuning in, if you have any questions, please share those in the chat. Our team will be monitoring any questions as we go along. So, AI. Depending on what time zone you're joining us from, this might not be the first time you've heard somebody talk about AI in your day. And you would think that, with all this talk about AI, it needs no introduction. With so many of us, if not all of us, engaging with it in our personal lives every day. But in our professional lives, there's still so many questions about the potential of the technology and how to put it into use. This is especially true when we think about complex, highly regulated areas like workforce management and payroll. In recent research, we found that 73% of leaders feel pressured to increase AI adoption, yet those same leaders recognize all kinds of opportunities for AI automation in the areas of workforce management and payroll, eliminating manual data entry, automating audits, surfacing real-time insights, and even reducing the time it takes to run payroll, generate schedules, really kind of optimize the workforce. And it's extremely rare in today's world that we get unanimous support on something, anything really. But that's what we have here with 99% of leaders saying that they want to keep a human in the loop when it comes to AI. So now that we kind of set the foundation a little bit before we jump in, I'd love to start with a easy, fun question for you all, our panelists, so the audience can get to know you all a little bit more. So I'm going to open it up to the group, but if you could all have your own personal AI help with any task in home life, what would that be?
I'll start. I wrote a piece on this last year, and I just thought of it again today, which is to sign up for summer camps. And I love that example because it's not just the act of the technology, right? That the signing up online, it pairs together the feelings of the kids, their friendships that change over time, many different systems that are on different platforms, different times, so many different factors. And I think right now with the moment we're in, it's a really interesting problem to think about what technology maybe is or is not capable of.
No, we have all the parents probably listening right now thinking, yes, I want that.
I would say mine would be AI for home renovation. I'm knee deep in a bathroom renovation, and I would love just to have the algorithm pick it all out and make it happen. If it could do that, I would be eternally happy.
No, that's a good one, Neil. That's actually on my list too. But I'm gonna go with actually more outside the home, but travel. To help plan trips. All the sites, all the restaurants, the actual airline reservations. Do all of those things.
That'd be cool.
What's the best 3 days in Aspen? What's the best, whatever.
It knows you, right? Your preferences.
Well, exactly.
Everything you like. Yeah, very cool.
Are you a beginner skier? Or are you, all of those things.
Fun. Well, my kids are a little too young for the summer camps, but if I could have some help around the house with just the cleaning, picking up of toys, I'm thinking like a AI kind of housekeeper, like we see from the Jensen, something like that. That would go a long, long way in my household. Okay, so we talked a little bit about kind of the opportunities that leaders recognize with AI automation. Just taking a step back a little bit, Neil, what are some of those drivers, or what are some of the challenges that you're seeing organizations face that are really trying to, really forcing organizations to look for these new ways of working and up-leveling efficiency?
I think it's a lot of age-old things. I mean, I've been in HR and HR technology for 30 years. And if I look back, I mean, there's still stuff that I was doing as a first-year practitioner, that's still done in a spreadsheet or in a PowerPoint file today. And we're still to this day kind of fumbling with the manual. And I just think that there's such opportunity to grab this moment, especially the generative AI pieces of it, and really, take the opportunity to automate, build in intelligence, connect dots, and just really fulfill the promise that we've been after for a very long time. So that'd be my perspective on that. I think there's such opportunity in this moment.
Interesting. So when we think about HR, payroll, operations leaders, when, addressing these challenges simultaneously means, obviously juggling multiple priorities. Cristina, what are some of the ways leaders can address these challenges while remaining competitive?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about, as Neil mentioned, just some of the ways, like fulfilling the promise of all of the things that we've been trying to do in HR. But, when I think about, especially when you think about workforce management, workforce and payroll, leaders are really trying to optimize, right? They're trying to figure out, like, how do I have the right people doing the right work? How do I make sure that work gets done quickly? How do I do it at the best cost? So there's a lot of planning and solving that needs to happen. And I think that's where I think there's the advantage that, if I can do these things and not have to spend the time, a lot of these are time intensive, redundant tasks. If I can get this done, then I can do other things then, where other things that they're not even thinking about doing right now. So I think there's that kind of efficiency that will help them, and provides that competitive advantage, when workforce and payroll is all about operations. And so how do I do that and do that well?
That's great. Kathy, we kind of dive in. Obviously, we're here to talk about AI, right? So thinking about automation, thinking about AI, what do you think are some of those unique considerations when we think about kind of the intersection of AI in HR and AI in workforce and pay? Obviously, eliminating some of those manual tasks that Cristina and Neil had talked about, but anything else specifically that, comes to mind for you?
I think in HR and workforce and payroll, these are all very deeply human disciplines, right? Neil and Cristina described their years of experience working on these systems that just at the core are people. It's getting people the money they need. It's figuring out who's in our systems. It's really just understanding how someone grows in an organization. And I think for me, that brings up the question of then what is the very human components of this? I know we hear people toss around humans in the loop and have humans, and of course humans are involved, right? These are technology systems. At some point is a person somewhere interacting with the system. That's how it's been for our many decades of having technology. The question for me then is where? And then for us to think about what we actually want to automate. So in our personal lives, maybe what is it in our personal, let's just use our personal lives, for example. What is it about personal lives that we want to really hold on to? Maybe it's the cuddles we have with our kids and we read them bedtime stories, but we might need a device to help us do other things so that we have the time to have those cuddles to read the bedtime stories. Or maybe it's, I see Neil in person and we're sitting next to each other and having a coffee, and that's something that no system will either can't replicate, but then that will translate into how we collaborate on a document later as we think about HR and AI. So for me, the unique part is it's a deeply human discipline, like deeply human business that we're in. So how do we think about what parts of that do we preserve and enhance that we just don't want automated, but then at the same time, what parts do we want to automate so we can then do those very human, fun things that we really want to hold on to?
Kathy, as I listen to you speaking, it is about time, in so many ways, right? So time to use that time how you feel it needs to be used or how best to use that time. so that you're like, yeah, you want to spend more time with your family or do different things at work. It really is about like, what are the things that a human doesn't have to do? Because there are things that are uniquely human that humans should be doing.
Yeah. I want to actually, because you raised that, something I learned from your masterclass. Cristina has an incredible AI masterclass out there about the workforce, and you really dive into and taught me a lot about the framing of it as like a time problem, right? Of if we just think about it in terms of where do we save the time and for what task, for example, it can really help us think about where we should deploy the technology.
Definitely. There's a lot that you can think about there. So
I think about think about all this stuff in your world, Cristina, this world of, workforce management, payroll, and there's so much time that goes into just counting things.
Yeah.
Counting hours, making sure that, we've deciphered and coded the payrolls effectively, right? And we're going to treat people fairly. I just think there's still an enormous amount of opportunity, left in the machine, so to speak, in order to give that time back, make it more intelligent, have it catch the problems before they are problems, correct them without needing to be told to correct them, and still keep the human in the loop in a way that, at least gives us the illusion that we're in control and can keep running the world. So
it's not an illusion. We can definitely be in control.
No, but yeah, it is counting, checking, matching, mapping. So things that a machine can do very well. And there's things that a machine doesn't do as well, like thinking more strategically and thinking about the things that they're going to do. And you think about these functions, workforce and, workforce management, payroll, those functions are changing. And the dynamic of that is changing in terms of the teams and, how teams are coming in and approaching work. And there's you have the people actually doing the work. What is it that they want to do? They don't want to necessarily do the repetitive tasks. So there's an aspect there that is really important in terms of employees' career and development.
Yeah, I love it.
It's interesting. So I know a lot of you are talking to our customers all the time, right? So like with that human component, is that what they're looking for? Are they looking for kind of that balance of, empowering the people to do the jobs that are, a little bit more strategic, a little bit more compelling to keep them within the organization? And what are those experiences that customers are looking for? And on top of that, like as a vendor, building solutions for this, are there any sort of, guidelines or kind of guiding principles that we think about as we build solutions to kind of help enable that?
I think there's a bunch of stuff I hear just in my day to day, and I think it falls into kind of three key areas. One is about finding the time, right? Accelerating things, making things easier, being somewhat assistive in the way that we can help workers get work done. And whether that's, clicking a button to generate text or clicking a button to summarize text, that's kind of one layer. And then the other layer really kind of goes more towards how you can just tremendously enhance the experience, right? Bring, assistive qualities to an interaction where, the machine knows the context and can really walk you through things, or really even get to a place where the machine is doing some things on your behalf, right? Instead of making me do that manual step, it knows it's the next thing in line and it's going to go do it and bring me the results and present those to me in a way that helps me, spend my time making the decision and not spending my time, going and gathering, right? It's taking the opportunity to, augment the experience and make it richer. So those are a couple of the things that I hear just day in and day out. And, the use cases start to get far, far more advanced as we think down the line to things like help me predict, right? Who's going to be the next, amazing performer in my organization. Those things I think are a little bit further down the line. But I think if we harness the opportunity to deliver that value early, some of those later use cases will play themselves out really well as well.
Yeah, I hear the same things from our customers as we think about what we're building next. Today, oftentimes, going back to time, I think time is going to be the thread that connects this whole conversation. But their teams are spending their time on tactical work, and all they can do is get the payroll out, right, and make sure that it's right, make sure that it runs, from schedules, making sure that schedules are done, et cetera, and that takes up all of their time. Where really getting to the next level of do I have the right people working in the right space? What if I move things around? Do my overtime costs go down? So there's a whole what's their strategy for managing costs and optimizing what they're doing, and then planning ahead to what should we be doing and where. And when we think about so there's that. Then there's the engagement piece where being able to show people, make suggestions and recommendations to people as to if you work this shifts or worked in this area, then you could make a little bit more money. Right. Or you could. So there's not just the teams and them working more efficiently, but the individual having more transparency and insight and suggestions and recommendations on how they can work better, work smarter.
Yeah. I'll add to that too, and then maybe the experience and how we think about our systems. I'm going to channel a little bit our own Athena Karp, who is the CEO of HiredScore, now working on our recruiter agent. And she often talks about the AI you see and the AI you don't. And so for some of what I hear from customers, some of us are on journeys where we're just you're the vendor, give us the technology. It may have AI somewhere in there that really helps enhance the experience, makes searching a bit easier. If you're looking at the recruiter agent, maybe it surfaces candidates we never thought we could even find before. And this seamless experience of just it's a tool in our technology toolbox, help make the experience of payroll and hiring and growth plan, et cetera, much easier. And then the other buckets I sometimes see in the conversations I really love too are the ones where what are all the things this technology can empower our particular industry to do? So for example, it's healthcare. And what are things that before large language models and now large video models and large audio models and all these multimodal systems that are coming out this next year, what was not possible before? Maybe it's new ways of predicting cancer research, or maybe it's new ways to move around contingent workforces in a healthcare system that you just never considered before, that completely turns hiring around. I hear those conversations a lot as well, more of what is the art of the possible blue sky stuff, but because the technology is moving so fast, it's not it's that far away. There are some ideas that can come to life pretty quickly.
I like that example in the healthcare space. I mean, think about it. You've got a group of very talented nurses, all with skill sets. What if you use the skill set differently and you could hear and
100%. Especially in healthcare where there are different dearths of skills in different parts around the country, around the world. How do we rethink skills and where they should go so people can get into different kinds of roles? There's so much that can happen there with the capabilities that we have with computing power now that was just never possible before.
Yeah, I love that idea.
Thinking about just getting started, right? I feel like a lot of companies sometimes are a little bit stuck on where and how to start, especially with generative AI. Neil, you talked about it a little bit. Click a button, you generate text, you translate text. I know Gen AI is really popular and it's top of mind for a lot of buyers out there. Speaking of, on the Gen AI front, what practical first steps can a company take to responsibly incorporate some of that Gen AI functionality and use cases into HR and payroll and workforce management?
I look at it and I think it's two simple things. One is you can start small. You don't have to, shoot for the fences from the very beginning. You can start with a small group of people and really kind of take more of a pilot mindset. And two, don't be afraid to experiment, right? I think that this is probably one of the perfect times in history where experimentation is really, going to get us really far. And I think you can build up that experience and you really gain that understanding of how this is going to operate in your enterprise, and then go big, right? So I think starting small and experimenting is a real great way to start to unpack the opportunity.
Yeah, no, I love that, Neil, because I think it is just you should just get started. I think the other thing too is when you think about the vendors that you work with or your partners, hopefully you're working with people you trust and, like Workday. And if that's the case, then, trust that, that we're providing for you things that we believe would be useful, and try them out. Like you have the ability to turn these things on and begin to use them and see the value. I think there's a lot, and people should approach things with a mindset of, let's figure this out. To Neil's point, they should be willing to experiment, because this is all new stuff and we're going to continually to get new things. And it's going to change at a very fast pace. So you sort of have to be willing to take on things and take them on rather quickly. But, if there's a trust there with your partner, with your vendor, then, go for it.
I'll also add that what I find sometimes helpful is I'll start asking questions about what you're currently using, or maybe both at work and at home, and just to find, that has machine learning in it somewhere already. So to point out that you might already be using it in some capacity, to take away some of the, oh no, we can't use it at all. I was like, actually, maybe for the past 15 years you have. And use that as a starting point, and then to build on something Neil said, to just start. I was with a group of CIOs a few months ago, and one of the ideas people were tossing around was starting in more of your low risk scenarios. So maybe you're thinking about trying something new for scheduling. Well, maybe there is a scenario where messing up scheduling is not ideal, but lower risk than maybe messing up surgeries.
And your operations person may question.
Right. And you're laughing, but there are scenarios where you're like, okay, we don't want to mess this up, but if we're going to try for 3 days with a small group of people, I don't want to try with a small group of people with surgeries ever, right? I don't want to try with one person in surgery. So we find your scenarios where you are okay with trying it's the same technology, so you can experience what that's like in your system, and you can really experience it fully, but it's in a lower risk scenario. And then you can see, and it might not work for your group, right? Or it might, you can find all those details out, and then we can expand to higher risk scenarios. And that way we can really see, that's not too bad. Or wow, that really changed how we did things. That was a really great conversation we had.
This stuff really is all over our everyday lives. It's so telling to me that I'm already seeing the Valentine's Day jewelry getting recommended to me as part of, what I start to see on social media after, peeking at some of the high-end websites. My wife would be very excited about that, but that's this stuff following you, making recommendations and pointing you towards things. So it's all very exciting.
I'm surprised it's not the shower heads, Neil. Maybe you've already got past that algorithm.
The Justin here.
All right. Well, last and final question for the group. Looking ahead, what is the potential you see for organizations who embrace these strategies that we discussed today?
I mean, we keep talking about the future of work. I think we actually get the chance to pivot. I do. And to go back to what Kathy talked about so eloquently early on, I think we get the chance to be uniquely human, right? And not chase the number or chase the spreadsheet or, try and figure out how to gather it in the right way. I think we're going to let the world of technology do that stuff. And I think we get to be uniquely human about it. And I think that's pretty exciting stuff.
I think there's huge opportunity. I mean, it is really exciting. I mean, I think to Neil's point, this is the future of work. I mean, work changes, but it isn't that we are taking away work from people. We are augmenting and changing the way work happens. which should make their lives better, which should give them time, which should allow organizations then to think differently about what they do. And I think that is extremely exciting.
Unsurprisingly, my answer falls along with those lines as well. I think as we move into, we had like big phases of AI for many years, and the last 2 years have really been the era of these large language models, large video and large audio, et cetera. And that's led the way to this concept of agentic AI, where we now can connect systems together, and we've built ourselves into systems of so many systems. And I think this is an opportunity to be able to have a very nice experience layer on top of all of our many complicated systems to surface up insights in a much more simple way that can really help us with our work ahead. So I'm really, really excited about that. And then I also think about how, in many ways, automation helped change manufacturing years ago, right? Things that humans just are not capable of doing. Like I can't lift, like 1,000 tons of stuff. It's just physically not possible for me. There are things that machines are just maybe better at, right? Parsing large amounts of information all at once in a nanosecond. That can really and completely change how we think about how we work. So I'm really excited about that.
Awesome. Alrighty, well, that's it for us today. Just want to thank all of you, our panelists, for your insights, and thank you, our audience, for joining us today. If you'd like a deep dive into other workforce management and payroll trends, please check out the resources linked below in the comments. We'd also love to hear from you in the comments, whether, any feedback on today's discussion, topics you're interested in the future, feel free to let us know there. Thank you all again, our panelists and our audience, and hope everybody has a great work day.